The wine glass slipped from my fingers and shattered against the marble kitchen floor. My husband Derek stood 15 feet away on our back patio, phone pressed to his ear, speaking in what he thought was a secret language. His voice carried through the open French doors with perfect clarity, each word in fluid, casual French landing like a punch to my stomach. Oui, chérie, la médecine a confirme? 3 mois. Yes, darling, the doctor confirmed it? 3 months? He laughed, the sound light and carefree in a way I hadn't heard from him in years. Ne quiet pas, j'aime couper de tout. Eleni sate rain. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. She knows nothing. The red wine spread across the white marble like blood from a wound. I watched it pool around the crystal shards, my hands trembling as I gripped the counter. Derek had no idea I'd grown up in Montreal. That French was my first language. That my mother had insisted I speak it fluently before we moved to the States when I was 12. He thought he was safe. He thought his secrets were protected by a language barrier that didn't exist. Je t'aime aussi. Je dois aller, Simone rentre bientôt du travail. I love you too. I have to go, Simone will be home from work soon. I was already home. I'd been home for 20 minutes. My voice came out steady, clear, perfect French flowing from my lips like I'd been born in Paris. Je suis déjà là, Derek. ETJ tout entendu. I'm already here, Derek. And I heard everything. The phone clattered to the patio stones. Derek's face went white, then red, his mouth opening and closing like a fish drowning in air. Through the phone speaker, I heard a woman's gasp before the line went dead. Simone, I can explain? En français ou en anglais? I asked, my voice like ice. In French or in English? He stumbled backward, hitting the patio railing. You speak French? Couramment. Fluently. My mother made sure of it. But you never asked about my childhood, did you? In 10 years of marriage, you never once asked where I learned to cook coq au vin or why I cried watching French films. I walked through the broken glass in my bare feet, feeling nothing. The physical pain was a distant echo compared to what was happening inside my chest. Derek held up his hands like I was pointing a weapon at him. How long? I asked, switching to English because I wanted him to have no confusion about what came next. How long have you been sleeping with her? It's not what you think. How long has she been pregnant with your child? His silence was confirmation enough. I had met Derek 12 years ago at a gallery opening. He was a financial consultant, sharp and ambitious, with a smile that made me feel like the only woman in the room. We built a life together, a beautiful home in the suburbs, a joint investment portfolio, shared dreams. He handled our finances because that was his expertise. I trusted him completely. What a fool I'd been. 3 months, I said quietly. She's 3 months pregnant. Which means you've been planning this for a while. The late nights at work. The business trips to Atlanta. The new cologne. Simone, please. What's her name? He flinched. Vanessa. Her name is Vanessa. I laughed, a bitter sound that hurt my throat. Is she pretty? Younger than me? Does she laugh at your jokes the way I used to before I realized they weren't funny, just mean? Stop it. Does she know you're broke? I watched his face carefully. Because you are, aren't you? That's why you've been working so much lately. Why you've been stressed. The investments you told me were doing so well, they failed. Didn't they? Derek's jaw clenched. That's none of your business. None of my business? My voice rose for the first time. We have joint accounts, Derek. Everything we own is half mine. If you lost money, you lost my money. I'll fix it. I always fix it. How? By stealing from me to support your pregnant mistress? His face told me I'd hit the truth before his words could deny it. I walked past him into the house, my feet leaving bloody footprints on the white marble. I didn't feel the cuts. I didn't feel anything except a strange, cold clarity. This was real. This was happening. And I needed to be smart. In our bedroom, I pulled out my phone and took pictures of everything. Our joint bank statements, investment portfolios, the deed to the house. I forwarded all our financial emails to my personal account. I photographed the text messages on Derek's iPad, the one he thought I didn't know the password to. 6 months of messages to Vanessa. Plans to leave me. Promises about their future together. Details about moving money around, hiding assets. Evidence. Derek appeared in the doorway, his face pale. What are you doing? Protecting myself. I continued photographing documents. You're planning to leave me, Derek? The least I can do is make sure you don't rob me blind on your way out. I wasn't going to. Don't lie to me anymore. I looked up at him, this man I'd loved for over a decade, and felt nothing but disgust. I deserve that much at least. No more lies. He sat on the edge of our bed, head in his hands. I never meant for this to happen. But it did happen. And now we deal with it. What are you going to do? I smiled and he actually looked scared. I'm going to be very, very smart about this, Derek. That's what I'm going to do. That night I slept in the guest room. Derek tried to talk to me twice, but I locked the door and put in earbuds, listening to French music my mother used to play. I cried silently into the pillow, mourning not just my marriage but the person I'd been, the trusting, naive woman who believed love was enough. By morning my tears were done. I had work to do. I made breakfast like nothing was wrong. Derek came downstairs warily, watching me scramble eggs and toast bread. I poured his coffee exactly how he liked it. Simone. Eat your breakfast, Derek. You have a meeting at 9, don't you? He sat slowly, confused by my calm. Are we okay? No. I sipped my coffee, looking at him over the rim. We're not okay. But we're going to be civilized about this. We'll figure out the details. I just need some time to process. Relief flooded his face. He actually thought I was going to make this easy for him. Poor Derek. He had no idea who he was dealing with. After he left for work, I called my best friend Nicole, an attorney specializing in divorce law. We'd known each other since college and she'd built a reputation for destroying cheating spouses in court. Simone? What's wrong? You sound weird. Derek's having an affair. She's pregnant. He's been embezzling from our joint accounts to support her. I need the best divorce lawyer you know. Nicole's voice went hard. You're talking to her. Don't sign anything, don't move any money, and don't let him know you're lawyering up. Can you come to my office today? I'll be there in an hour. I drove through the city streets, my hands steady on the wheel, my mind calculating next steps. This was going to hurt. It was going to be ugly. But I was going to come out the other side stronger. Derek thought he could use a foreign language to hide his betrayal. He thought I was too trusting, too soft, too in love to fight back. He was about to learn exactly how wrong he was. And I was going to teach him that lesson in perfect, flawless French. Nicole's office overlooked the city from the 20th floor, all glass and steel and sharp edges. She poured me coffee from an expensive machine and sat across from me with a legal pad and a recording device. Tell me everything, she said. Start from the beginning. I told her about the phone call, the French conversation, the pregnancy. I showed her the photographs I'd taken of our financial records, the text messages, the evidence of money transfers to accounts I didn't recognize. Nicole's expression grew darker with each detail. Orchestrated narrative continuation with strategic character development. I need to continue with Chapter 2, maintaining the 1,000-word count for each chapter. The story is building nicely with Simone being strategic and gathering evidence. Let me continue with her working with Nicole and hiring a private investigator. This is good, she said finally. Really good. He's not just cheating, he's committing fraud. That changes everything. What do you mean? Community property state. Everything earned during the marriage is half yours. If he's been moving money without your knowledge, that's illegal. If he's been supporting another woman with marital funds, you can sue for that too. She made notes, her pen flying across the page. But I need more. I need proof of where every dollar went. I need documentation of the affair. I need leverage. How do I get that? Nicole looked up at me. How do you feel about hiring a private investigator? 3 hours later, I was sitting in a cramped office across from a man named Gerald Patterson. He was in his 50s, gray-haired and tired-looking, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Your lawyer sent me your file, he said. Your husband's sloppy. That makes my job easier. What do you need from me? Access to his computer, his phone if possible, his schedule. Credit card statements, bank records, anything you can get me legally. I'll do the rest. I slid a folder across his desk. Everything's in there. Passwords, calendar access, recent purchases. I have his iPad at home with 6 months of messages to his mistress. Gerald whistled low. You're thorough. I'm motivated. Fair enough. Give me 2 weeks. I'll have everything you need to bury him. I left his office feeling lighter than I had in days. Action felt better than grief. Strategy felt better than crying. I was taking control of a situation that had spun wildly out of my grasp, and every step forward felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. At home I maintained the facade. I cooked dinner, made small talk, laughed at appropriate moments. Derek relaxed more each day, thinking my calm meant acceptance. He had no idea I was documenting every conversation, every lie, every moment he spent on his phone smiling at messages from Vanessa. A week into my investigation, Derek came home with flowers. I'm sorry, he said, handing me the bouquet of roses. I know I've been distant lately. Work has been crazy. I want to make it up to you. I took the flowers, arranging them in a vase. That's sweet. He stepped closer, trying to pull me into a hug. I let him, feeling nothing but revulsion as his arms wrapped around me. His cologne was different. Expensive, probably bought with money that was half mine to impress a woman carrying his child. I love you, Simone. The lie was so casual, so practiced. I pulled back and smiled. I know. That night, I copied more files from his computer while he showered. Bank statements showing transfers to an account under Vanessa's name. Receipts for jewelry I'd never received, dinners at restaurants we'd never visited together. An apartment lease in a building across town. He'd set her up in a furnished apartment. Paid her rent, her utilities, her groceries. All with our money. I forwarded everything to Nicole and Gerald, my fingers steady on the keyboard. 2 weeks after hiring Gerald, he called me to his office. The file he handed me was 3 inches thick. Your husband is having an affair with Vanessa Richardson, age 32, works as a dental hygienist. They met at a conference 18 months ago. She's 14 weeks pregnant. The timeline matches. He's been supporting her financially for the past year, approximately $75,000 of marital funds diverted to her care. He spread photographs across his desk. Derek and Vanessa at restaurants. Walking hand in hand through a park. Kissing outside her apartment building. The images should have hurt, but I felt only a clinical detachment. There's more, Gerald said. Your husband has been embezzling from client accounts. Small amounts spread across multiple portfolios. He's been covering the losses with new investments, basically running a pyramid scheme. It's going to collapse soon, and when it does, he'll be facing criminal charges. My stomach dropped. Criminal charges? Securities fraud, embezzlement, possibly wire fraud. We're talking federal crimes, Simone. He could go to prison. I sat back in the chair trying to process. Derek wasn't just a cheating husband. He was a criminal. A stupid criminal who'd gambled with other people's money and lost. His clients don't know yet? Not yet. But they will soon. The accounting doesn't add up. Someone's going to notice, probably in the next few months. What do I do? Gerald's expression was sympathetic. You separate your finances immediately. Anything joint gets split before this hits the fan. You protect yourself legally. And you get out before you're caught in the blast radius. I called Nicole from my car, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. He's going to prison, I said. He's been stealing from clients. It's all going to come out. Nicole was quiet for a moment. Okay, this changes the timeline. We need to file now before the criminal investigation starts. Otherwise, you could be tied up in his legal issues for years. How fast can we move? I can have papers ready by end of week. But Simone, you need to be prepared. Once we file, he's going to fight. This is going to get ugly. I don't care. My voice was steady. He made it ugly when he decided to betray me. I'm just finishing what he started. That night, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror, looking at my reflection. Dark brown skin, natural curls pulled back in a ponytail, eyes that looked older than they had 2 weeks ago. I was 34 years old and my life was imploding. But I was still standing. I was still fighting. Derek knocked on the door. Simone? Are you okay in there? I'm fine, I called back. Just tired. I was thinking we could take a vacation. Get away for a while. Maybe Paris? I almost laughed. Paris. The city of love. The city where people spoke the language he'd used to hide his affair. That sounds nice, I lied. Let's talk about it this weekend. Great. I love you. I didn't answer. I couldn't force those words past my lips anymore. In the guest room where I'd been sleeping, I opened my laptop and looked at the divorce papers Nicole had drafted. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Division of assets. Request for full forensic accounting. Civil suit for fraud and misappropriation of marital funds. I would sign them tomorrow. File them Friday. Serve Derek at his office on Monday. And then I would watch everything he'd built burn to the ground. He'd started this fire with his lies and his betrayal. I was just making sure it consumed everything he cared about before it went out. Fair was fair. The law offices of Patterson and Associates occupied an entire floor of a downtown high-rise. Nicole had brought in a forensic accountant named Patricia Chin. No relation to anyone I knew, just the best in the business. We sat in a conference room surrounded by financial documents, building a case that would leave Derek with nothing. The pattern is clear, Patricia said, pointing to highlighted sections of bank statements. He's been moving money for 14 months. Small amounts at first, then larger. He's careful but not careful enough. Every transfer leaves a trail. I studied the numbers, feeling sick. $75,000 to Vanessa. Another $100,000 in bad investments he tried to hide. Money that should have been building our future, wasted on his lies. Can he claim any of this was legitimate business expenses? I asked. Nicole shook her head. Not when it's going to his pregnant mistress's rent and jewelry. Not when he's been lying about the investment losses. This is clear fraud, Simone. We have him dead to rights. What about the criminal investigation? That's separate. Federal prosecutors will handle that. But we can use it as leverage in the divorce. He'll want to settle quickly to avoid public disclosure of his crimes. I looked at both women. I don't want a quick settlement. I want everything. Nicole smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Then that's what we'll get. We spent the next 3 days preparing. Nicole drafted motions, Patricia compiled financial reports, and I gathered every piece of evidence I could find. Derek's iPad became a treasure trove of incriminating messages. His laptop revealed hidden files with false accounting records. His phone, which I accessed while he slept, showed text messages to multiple women, not just Vanessa. He hadn't just been unfaithful. He'd been serially unfaithful for years. The betrayal should have destroyed me. Instead, it hardened something in my chest, turned grief into steel. He didn't love me. He probably never had. I was just convenient, someone to manage his home life while he played with other women. On Thursday night, Derek came home excited. Great news, he said, kissing my cheek. I didn't pull away even though my skin crawled. I landed a new client. Big portfolio, lots of potential. This could really turn things around for us. Like we were a team. Like he hadn't been systematically destroying our life together. That's wonderful, I said, stirring the pasta I'd made for dinner. Tell me about it. He launched into details about the client, the investment strategy, the commission he'd earn. I listened and nodded, all while thinking about the divorce papers locked in my car trunk. Tomorrow I would sign them. Monday they'd be filed. Tuesday Derek would be served. The countdown felt surreal. You seem distracted, Derek said, studying me across the dinner table. Is everything okay? Just thinking about work. I have a big project presentation next week. It wasn't a lie. I did have a presentation, for a commercial redesign contract worth $500,000. I'd been working on it for months, and if I landed it, I'd have financial independence from Derek. The timing was perfect. You'll do great, he said, reaching across to squeeze my hand. You always do. His touch made my stomach turn. I pulled my hand away gently, picking up my wine glass. Thanks. After dinner, Derek went to his office to work. I knew he was probably video chatting with Vanessa, making plans for their future together. I didn't care anymore. Let him have his fantasies. Reality was coming for him fast. I went to the guest room and called my mother in Montreal. Ma petite, she answered, her voice warm and familiar. Comment ça? How am I? The question almost broke me. Pas bien, maman, I said quietly. Not well, mama. Derek me trompe. Elle est enceinte. Derek is cheating on me. She's pregnant. My mother's sharp intake of breath carried across the line. She switched to English, her accent thick with emotion. Oh, my darling. I'm so sorry. What are you going to do? I'm divorcing him. But there's more. He's been stealing money from me and from his clients. He's going to prison. Mon Dieu. Simone, are you safe? I'm fine, maman. I'm being smart about this. I have lawyers, investigators, evidence. He doesn't know I know everything yet. Be careful. Men like that, when they realize they are trapped, they become dangerous. He's not violent. Just stupid and selfish. Still. Promise me you will protect yourself. I promise. We talked for an hour, my mother sharing stories of her own divorce from my father when I was young. She'd been strong then, rebuilding her life in a new country with a small child and no support. Her strength had taught me strength. I would need all of it in the coming weeks. Friday morning, I met Nicole at her office and signed the divorce papers. My signature felt final, like closing a book I'd been reading for a decade. The story was over. Whatever came next would be a new chapter. Monday morning, 9 a.m. we file, Nicole said. Derek will be served at his office by noon. Are you ready for this? More than ready. He's going to be angry. Make sure you're not alone with him when he finds out. I'll stay with a friend. I've already packed a bag. Nicole hugged me, something she rarely did. You're going to get through this, Simone. And you're going to come out stronger on the other side. I wanted to believe her. That weekend was surreal. Derek took me to dinner, to a movie, trying to be the perfect husband. I played along, counting down the hours. 48 hours until filing. 72 hours until he knew. 96 hours until my life changed forever. Sunday night, I packed a bag while Derek was in the shower. Clothes, toiletries, important documents, my laptop. I put it in my car trunk, ready to leave the moment the papers were served. Derek found me in the closet. Going somewhere? My heart jumped, but I kept my voice steady. Just organizing. Spring cleaning. He wrapped his arms around me from behind. I'm glad we had this weekend together. I feel like we're reconnecting. I wanted to scream. Instead, I turned and kissed him, playing the role one last time. Me too. That night I barely slept. I lay in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had brought me to this moment. The wedding where Derek had promised to love me forever. The house we'd bought together. The dreams we'd shared that were all lies. By morning I felt nothing but resolve. Monday morning I woke at 6. Derek was already up, getting ready for work. I made him breakfast, poured his coffee, and watched him eat, knowing these were the last normal moments of his old life. Big day ahead? I asked. The usual. Meetings, client calls. Boring stuff. Good luck. He kissed me goodbye. Love you. I didn't answer. At 9 a.m. Nicole called. Papers are filed. Process server is on his way to Derek's office. It's done, Simone. Thank you. Where are you? Still at the house. I'm packing the rest of my things now. Be gone before he gets home. And Simone? Congratulations. You just took the first step toward freedom. I hung up and looked around the house I'd called home for 8 years. Beautiful furniture, expensive art, perfect decorating. All of it meant nothing. It was just stuff, just things that Derek had bought to create an image of success. I wanted none of it. By the time the process server reached Derek's office, I was gone. I spent that Monday night at Nicole's guest room, jumping every time my phone buzzed. Derek called 17 times. He left voicemails that progressed from confused to angry to desperate. I didn't listen to any of them. Nicole had been clear. No contact except through lawyers. Anything I said could be used against me later. The next morning, I drove to my interior design studio in the Arts District. I'd been running Simone Wells Design for 6 years, mostly small residential projects and the occasional boutique commercial job. The work was good but limited. I'd always been too afraid to pursue bigger contracts, worried about failing, about taking risks. Derek's betrayal had burned away that fear. I had nothing left to lose. My assistant Tasha looked up when I walked in. You okay? You look different. I'm getting divorced. Her eyes widened. What? What happened? I told her the basics, the affair, the pregnancy, the filing. I didn't mention the embezzlement or the criminal investigation. That would come out soon enough. Tasha hugged me hard. I never liked him anyway. Too slick. That made me laugh for the first time in weeks. Why didn't you say something? Would you have listened? Probably not. She poured us both coffee from the studio's ancient machine. So what's the plan? Curl up and cry or burn his life down? Option 2. Definitely option 2. Good. You need anything? Actually, yes. I pulled up the proposal I'd been working on for months. Remember that Pacific Tower redesign contract? The one I was too scared to submit. The $500,000 one? Yeah. I'm submitting it today. And I'm going to land it. Tasha's smile was fierce. Now that's what I'm talking about. Let's do this. We spent the morning polishing the proposal, refining the presentation, making it perfect. The Pacific Tower was a historic building being converted into luxury condos. They wanted a designer who could blend modern amenities with vintage charm. It was exactly my specialty, but I'd been too intimidated by the scope. Not anymore. At 2 p.m., I presented to the development company's board. 5 men in expensive suits, looking skeptical that a woman running a small studio could handle a project this size. I didn't let it shake me. I showed them renderings, timelines, budget breakdowns. I explained my vision for each unit, each common space, each detail. I quoted historical preservation codes and modern building standards. I answered every question with confidence I didn't know I had. By the end, the skepticism had shifted to interest. This is impressive, Ms. Wells, the lead developer said. But this is a $12 million project. How do we know you can handle the logistics? Because I've been handling logistics for years, I said. I've managed budgets, timelines, contractors, city permits. The scale is larger, but the principles are the same. And I want this project more than anyone else you'll interview. This is my chance to prove what I can do, and I don't take that lightly. He glanced at his colleagues. We'll be in touch. I left the meeting unsure whether I'd succeeded or failed. But I tried. I'd taken the shot. That was more than I'd done in years. That evening, Derek showed up at my studio. I saw him through the window getting out of his car, his face set in hard lines. I locked the door before he could reach it. Simone. He pounded on the glass. Open up. We need to talk. No contact except through lawyers, I called back. Your lawyer has my lawyer's number. This is insane. You can't just file for divorce without talking to me. I did talk to you. In French. Remember? His face flushed red. That's not fair. I made a mistake. 18 months isn't a mistake, Derek. It's a choice. Multiple choices. Every day for 18 months, you chose to lie to me. A few passers-by had stopped to watch. Derek noticed and lowered his voice. Please. Just give me 5 minutes. No. Simone. I have nothing to say to you. Your lawyer will receive our discovery request this week. I suggest you start being honest with them because I have evidence of everything. His expression shifted from angry to calculating. What evidence? Everything. The affair, the money you stole, the clients you defrauded. All of it. The color drained from his face. You're bluffing. I held up my phone, showing him a photo of one of his text messages to Vanessa. Am I? He stared at the image, realization dawning. How long have you known? Long enough to protect myself. Goodbye, Derek. I turned my back on him and walked to my office. He pounded on the door a few more times, then left. I watched his car disappear down the street, my hands shaking with adrenaline. Tasha appeared with a bottle of wine. You okay? Actually, yeah. I think I am. We drank the wine and ordered pizza, and I told her everything. The French conversation, the investigation, the evidence. It felt good to share it with someone who wasn't my lawyer. You're kind of a badass, Tasha said. I'm trying to be. 2 days later, the Pacific Tower Development Company called. They wanted to hire me. The contract was worth $500,000, with potential for more work on future projects. I hung up the phone and cried. Not sad tears, relief tears. Joy tears. I could support myself. I didn't need Derek's money or his approval or anything else from him. I had my own career, my own success, my own future. That weekend, I signed the contract and celebrated with Nicole and Tasha at an expensive restaurant. We toasted to new beginnings, to freedom, to the life I was building from the ashes of my marriage. To Simone, Nicole said, raising her glass. Who's about to show Derek exactly what he lost? To me, I agreed. And to never settling for less than I deserve again. The wine was excellent. The food was perfect. And for the first time in months, I felt genuinely happy. Derek tried calling again that night. I blocked his number. Whatever he had to say, he could say it through lawyers. I was done listening to his lies. The forensic accounting revealed worse than I'd imagined. Derek hadn't just stolen from me, he'd stolen from 15 different clients, moving money between accounts to cover losses, creating fake statements to hide the theft. The total was close to $2 million. He's going to federal prison, Patricia told me, laying out the evidence. There's no way around it. The SEC is already investigating. They'll have him in handcuffs within 6 months. I sat in Nicole's conference room, looking at the documents that would destroy my husband's life. Part of me felt vindicated. A larger part felt sad for the man I'd thought I married, who apparently had never existed. What does this mean for the divorce? I asked. It means he has no leverage, Nicole said. He needs this settled quickly and quietly. We ask for everything and we'll get it. I don't want everything. I just want what's fair. Nicole looked at me seriously. Simone, fair is everything. He stole from you. He betrayed you. He put your financial future at risk with his crimes. Fair is taking every penny that's rightfully yours and leaving him with exactly what he deserves. Nothing. She was right. I knew she was right. But it still felt strange, planning the systematic destruction of someone I'd once loved. What about Vanessa? I asked. What happens to her? Not your problem, Nicole said firmly. She chose to have an affair with a married man. Whatever consequences come from that are hers to deal with. 2 weeks later, Derek's lawyer requested a meeting. We met in a neutral conference room, lawyers on both sides of a long table. Derek looked terrible. He'd lost weight, his suit hung loose, and his eyes were bloodshot. He tried to catch my eye. I looked at Nicole instead. His lawyer, a sharply dressed woman named Barbara Hayes, started the negotiation. My client is willing to concede to a no-fault divorce and an equitable distribution of assets. Nicole laughed. No fault? Your client committed fraud, embezzlement, and adultery. There's nothing no fault about this divorce. The alleged fraud is documented in 15 different client accounts. Don't waste our time pretending it didn't happen. Barbara's jaw tightened. What are your terms? Nicole slid a document across the table. Full division of all assets acquired during the marriage, with Mrs. Wells receiving 70% due to the misappropriation of marital funds. Mr. Wells assumes all debt. Mrs. Wells retains the business she built. No spousal support in either direction. Complete financial separation within 90 days. Derek grabbed the document. 70%? That's insane. That's generous, I said quietly. Considering you stole from me for over a year. I didn't steal from you. You spent $75,000 of our money on your mistress. You lost another $100,000 in bad investments you hid from me. You put my name on tax returns with fraudulent information. How is that not stealing? His face reddened. I was going to pay it all back. With what money? You're broke. Your clients are finding out you stole from them. You're going to be indicted within months. You have nothing left to pay anyone back with. The truth of it settled over the room like a heavy blanket. Derek slumped in his chair, defeated. I need Simone's help, he said finally. If she testifies that she didn't know about the client accounts, that I handled all the finances, it'll help my case. I stared at him, amazed at his audacity. You want me to help you? Please. I'm begging you. I'll lose everything. You already lost everything. You lost it the moment you decided to cheat and steal. Simone. No. I stood up. I'm not helping you. I'm not lying for you. I'm not protecting you from the consequences of your own choices. You're on your own, Derek. Just like you left me on my own while you played house with Vanessa. I walked out of the conference room, my head high. Behind me I heard Derek start to cry. I didn't look back. Nicole caught up with me in the hallway. That was perfect. They'll accept our terms now. He has no choice. When will it be final? 3 months, maybe 4. Depends on how long it takes to transfer assets and settle the paperwork. 3 months until I was free. That night, I worked late at the Pacific Tower project. The building was being gutted and renovated, and I spent hours walking through the empty spaces, imagining what they would become. Clean lines, natural light, modern fixtures with historical details preserved. It was going to be beautiful. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Simone. A woman's voice, nervous. This is Vanessa. I froze. How did you get this number? Derek gave it to me. Look, I know you probably hate me. I don't hate you. I don't think about you at all. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know he was married at first, and then when I found out he said you two were separated, that the divorce was almost final. He lied to you. We were never separated. We were very much married. She started crying. I know that now. I'm 7 months pregnant, Simone. He promised he'd leave you, that we'd be a family. Now he says he's broke, that he's going to prison. I don't know what to do. I should have felt sympathy. She was a victim of Derek's lies too. But I felt nothing except tired resignation. That's not my problem, Vanessa. You made choices. You have to live with them. Please. I have nobody. My family won't talk to me because of this. I need help. Then find a good lawyer and sue Derek for child support. But don't call me again. I hung up before she could respond. Later I felt guilty about my coldness. But what was I supposed to do? Comfort the woman carrying my husband's child? Help her navigate the mess Derek had created? She'd made her bed alongside Derek. Let her lie in it. The divorce agreement came through 2 weeks later. Derek signed everything without fighting. Nicole had been right. He was desperate to settle before the criminal charges were filed. I signed the papers in Nicole's office, my signature neat and final. Congratulations, Nicole said. You're officially almost divorced. Almost? Waiting period. 90 days from today it's final. 90 days. 3 months. 1 season. I could wait that long. The SEC investigation went public on a Tuesday morning. I was at the Pacific Tower site, consulting with the contractor about bathroom fixtures, when my phone exploded with news alerts. Financial consultant charged with securities fraud. Derek Anderson indicted for embezzlement. Local man accused of stealing millions from clients. I read the article standing in the middle of a half-demolished bathroom, dust motes floating in the morning light. Federal prosecutors had filed a 15-count indictment. Wire fraud, securities fraud, money laundering. Derek's face was on every news site, looking shocked as he was led from his office in handcuffs. Tasha called. Are you seeing this? Yeah. How are you feeling? Honestly? Relieved. It's real now. It's not just me saying he's a criminal, the federal government is saying it. His lawyer gave a statement. Said he's innocent, that this is all a misunderstanding. Of course she did. That's her job. But the evidence was overwhelming. Financial records, client testimonies, email trails. Derek had been sloppy and arrogant, believing he was too smart to get caught. Vanessa called that afternoon. I'd blocked her number, but she found a way to leave a voicemail. Simone, I know you don't want to talk to me, but I need you to know. Derek told me the money was his. That he had investments, that we'd be fine. I didn't know it was stolen. I swear I didn't know. Now the FBI wants to interview me. I'm so scared. Please, if you have any advice. I deleted the message without listening to the rest. Nicole called that evening. Derek's lawyer wants to know if you'll testify that you had no knowledge of his criminal activity. Will it help him? It might reduce his sentence slightly. Show that he acted alone, that you weren't complicit. What do I get out of it? Nothing. And it might open you up to cross-examination about your knowledge of his business practices. Then no. I'm not putting myself at risk to help him. I thought you'd say that. I'll let them know. The news cycle moved fast. By the end of the week, investigative reporters had uncovered more victims. Elderly couples who'd lost their retirement savings, young families who'd invested their children's college funds, small business owners who trusted Derek with their expansion capital. 15 families destroyed. Lives ruined. Also, Derek could maintain his lifestyle and support his mistress. I felt sick reading the stories. These people had trusted him just like I had. They'd believed his promises, his assurances that their money was safe and growing. Instead, he'd been gambling it away, using new investments to pay old debts, creating a pyramid scheme that was always going to collapse. One client, an elderly woman named Mrs. Patterson, gave an interview. He seemed so trustworthy, she said, crying on camera. He sent us birthday cards. He called to check on us. And the whole time he was stealing from us. I couldn't watch anymore. The divorce was finalized in the middle of the media storm. 90 days had passed, and just like that, I was no longer Mrs. Derek Anderson. I was Simone Wells again, independent and free. Nicole took me to lunch to celebrate. How does it feel? Like closing a book. The story's over. Now you get to write a new one. We clinked glasses of champagne. Around us, the restaurant hummed with lunch conversations. Nobody knew who I was, nobody was asking about Derek. I was just another woman having lunch with a friend. It felt wonderful. That evening, I received a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Simone Wells? This is Jennifer Morrison from the prosecutor's office. I'm handling the case against Derek Anderson. Do you have a few minutes? My stomach dropped. I have a lawyer. I know. Nicole Roberts has been very helpful. I'm calling because we'd like to interview you about Derek's business practices. Anything you can tell us about his habits, his record keeping, his state of mind. It would help build our case. Will I have to testify in court? Possibly. But likely not. We have enough evidence without your testimony. This is more about filling in gaps. I thought about Mrs. Patterson crying on television. About the 15 families Derek had destroyed. Okay, I said. I'll talk to you. But I need my lawyer present. Of course. We'll schedule something for next week. The interview took place in a federal building downtown, in a room with no windows and 2 bright fluorescent lights. Jennifer Morrison was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with sharp eyes and a serious demeanor. Her partner, an agent named Robert Clark, took notes while Jennifer asked questions. They wanted to know everything. How Derek handled finances, whether I'd had access to client files, what he'd said about his work. I told them the truth, that he'd kept me completely separate from his business, that I'd trusted him to handle our money, that I'd had no idea what he was doing. Did he seem stressed in the months before the investigation? Jennifer asked. Yes. He was working longer hours, seemed distracted. But he told me it was just a busy period. Did he ever mention specific clients or problems? No. He said client information was confidential. What about Vanessa Richardson? When did you learn about her? I told them about the French phone call, about discovering the pregnancy, about the evidence I'd gathered for my divorce. Jennifer's expression didn't change, but Robert wrote faster. Ms. Richardson has claimed she didn't know about the fraud, Jennifer said. Do you believe her? I thought about Vanessa's voicemail, her scared voice. I don't know. Derek was good at lying. He lied to me for years. Why not to her too? Fair enough. The interview lasted 3 hours. By the end, my head ached from remembering details, from reliving the worst months of my life. But Jennifer seemed satisfied. Thank you, Ms. Wells. This has been very helpful. What happens now? Derek's trial is scheduled for 6 months from now. He'll probably take a plea deal. The evidence is overwhelming. But either way, he's looking at significant prison time. How long? Federal sentencing guidelines suggest 8 to 12 years for this level of fraud. 8 to 12 years. Derek would be in his 50s when he got out. His career would be over. His reputation destroyed. Good, I said quietly. Jennifer's expression softened slightly. I know this has been hard on you. For what it's worth, you did the right thing by protecting yourself. I left the federal building feeling drained but lighter. My part in this was almost done. The prosecutors had what they needed. Derek would face justice. And I could finally truly move on. Derek's trial date was set for September. His lawyers filed motion after motion trying to delay, trying to suppress evidence, trying anything to avoid the inevitable. None of it worked. In July, they offered him a plea deal. Plead guilty to 10 counts of securities fraud, accept a 10-year sentence with possibility of parole after 7 years. In exchange, the government would drop the money laundering charges and recommend medium security prison instead of maximum. Derek's lawyer called Nicole to ask if I would write a letter to the judge requesting leniency. Nicole relayed the request while we had coffee at my now bustling design studio. The Pacific Tower project had led to 3 more commercial contracts. I'd hired 2 new designers and was looking at office space 3 times the size of my current location. What did you tell them? I asked. That I'd ask you. But Simone, you don't owe him anything. If you say no, no one will blame you. I thought about it for exactly 5 seconds. No. He made his choices. He can live with the consequences. Done. Derek took the plea deal in August. The sentencing hearing was scheduled for October. I didn't attend. I couldn't stomach the thought of seeing him in court, probably crying and apologizing and trying to garner sympathy. Nicole went as my representative and texted me updates throughout the hearing. Judge is brutal. Not buying Derek's remorse. Victims are reading impact statements. Mrs. Patterson just made half the courtroom cry. Prosecutor is asking for maximum sentence. Says Derek showed no remorse until he got caught. Finally, 10 years. No early release eligibility for at least 7. Restitution ordered for all victims. I read the final text sitting in my new office looking out over the city. 10 years. Derek would be 47 when he was released, and he'd owe millions in restitution he'd never be able to pay. I felt nothing except a distant sense of closure. Tasha knocked on my door. You okay? Yeah. It's done. He's going to prison. Good. He deserves it. She was right. He did deserve it. And now justice had been served. I threw myself into work with renewed energy. The Pacific Tower project was finished in September, 3 weeks ahead of schedule and under budget. The developer was thrilled and immediately hired me for their next property, a historic hotel conversion. My business was exploding. I couldn't keep up with the request for consultations, proposals, new projects. I hired 4 more designers, rented the larger office space, and started turning down smaller residential jobs to focus on commercial work. Money flowed in faster than I could spend it. Not Derek's money, my money earned through my skills and my work and my reputation. One morning I checked my bank balance and realized I had more money than Derek and I had ever had together. And I'd earned every penny legitimately, without stealing or lying or betraying anyone. The satisfaction was immense. Vanessa had her baby in September. A girl. I saw the birth announcement on social media through a friend of a friend. She was a single mother now with Derek in federal prison. Her family had allegedly reconciled with her, helping with the baby. I felt a twinge of sympathy for the child, growing up knowing her father was in prison for fraud. But that wasn't my problem to solve. In October I received a letter from Derek. It had been forwarded through Nicole, who'd included a note. You don't have to read this if you don't want to. I almost threw it away. But curiosity got the better of me. The letter was handwritten, Derek's familiar scrawl covering 3 pages. Dear Simone, I know I have no right to contact you. I know you probably hate me. I deserve your hatred. I deserve everything that's happened to me. I'm writing because I need you to know how sorry I am. Not just for the affair, though that was unforgivable. But for all of it, for lying to you, for stealing from you, for taking advantage of your trust. You deserved so much better than what I gave you. Prison has given me time to think about the person I became. The lies, the greed, the selfishness. I don't even recognize that person anymore. He was a stranger, someone I created to hide from my own failures and insecurities. You were always the better person in our marriage. Kinder, more honest, more talented. I think part of me resented that. Part of me wanted to prove I was just as successful, just as worthy. Instead, I proved I was a criminal and a coward. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know that you were right about everything. You were right to leave. Right to protect yourself. Right to refuse to help me. I hope you're happy now. I hope you've built the life you always deserved. And I hope someday you can think of our time together without anger or pain, just as a chapter that's closed, a lesson learned. I'm sorry, Simone. For everything. Derek. I read the letter twice, then put it in my desk drawer. It didn't change anything. Sorry didn't undo the betrayal or the theft or the lies. But it was something, an acknowledgement, a confession. Maybe in 10 years, when Derek got out of prison, he would be a different person. Maybe he'd learned something from his spectacular downfall. But that was his journey, not mine. My journey was just beginning. The hotel conversion project introduced me to Andre Mitchell, an architect with his own firm specializing in historical preservation. We met at the initial site walkthrough, and I was immediately struck by his thoughtfulness, the way he studied the building's bones, appreciating what existed before planning what to change. Most developers want to gut these old places, he said, running his hand along an original marble column. But the history is what makes them special. Our job is to honor that while making them functional for modern life. Exactly, I agreed. Keep the soul, update the function. He smiled. I think we're going to work well together. He was right. Over the next 3 months, Andre and I collaborated closely on the hotel design. He was brilliant at structural solutions, finding ways to preserve historical elements while meeting modern building codes. I focused on interiors, creating spaces that felt both classic and contemporary. We met for coffee to discuss plans. We toured other historic buildings for inspiration. We argued good-naturedly about design choices, both of us passionate about the work. I didn't notice when the professional relationship started shifting into something more. Or maybe I did notice but told myself it was just friendship, just mutual respect between colleagues. Then one evening, working late at my office reviewing plans, Andre brought dinner. You need to eat, he said, unpacking Thai food on my desk. I know you forget when you're deep in a project. How did you know I like pad Thai? You mentioned it 3 weeks ago. I pay attention. Something in his tone made me look up. He was watching me with an expression that wasn't just friendly or professional. Andre. I know the timing is terrible, he said quickly. I know you just went through a divorce. I'm not trying to pressure you or make you uncomfortable. But I need you to know, I think you're amazing. Not just as a designer, though you are incredible at that. As a person. The way you approach problems, the way you treat people, the way you rebuilt your life after everything fell apart. You're remarkable, Simone. My heart was pounding. I don't know if I'm ready for this. I know. And I can wait. I will wait. But I wanted you to know how I feel, so you don't think I'm just being nice or professional. This is real. I looked at him, really looked at him. Andre was tall and lean, with warm brown skin and thoughtful dark eyes. He dressed well but not flashily. He was kind to waitstaff and contractors alike. He called his mother every Sunday. He was nothing like Derek. Can we take this slow? I asked. Really slow. His smile was gentle. As slow as you need. We had our first official date a week later. Just dinner at a quiet restaurant, talking about everything except work. He told me about growing up in Chicago, about studying architecture at Howard, about his failed engagement 5 years ago. She wanted me to quit my firm and work for her father's development company, he explained. She wanted me to be someone I wasn't. I realized I'd rather be alone than pretend to be someone else. I understand that completely. I thought you might. There was no pressure for more. He walked me to my car, kissed my cheek, and told me he'd had a wonderful time. That was it. It was perfect. Over the next months we went on more dates. Coffee dates, museum dates, walks in the park. He met Tasha and Nicole, both of whom approved enthusiastically. I met his family at a Sunday dinner. His mother was a retired teacher, his father a contractor, his 2 sisters both married with kids. They welcomed me warmly, asking nothing about my divorce, treating me like I belonged there. Andre talks about you constantly, his mother told me while helping in the kitchen. It's nice to see him happy again. I'm happy too, I realized. Really happy. It was true. The past year had been brutal, discovering Derek's betrayal, the divorce, the criminal trial. But I'd come through it stronger and more confident. I built a thriving business, surrounded myself with people who genuinely cared about me, and found someone who saw my worth. The hotel project finished in March, 9 months after we'd started. The grand opening was a massive success. The mayor attended, along with Preservation Society members, architectural journalists, and potential investors. Andre and I stood together watching people tour the space we created, their faces lit up with appreciation for the blend of old and new. "We did good work," he said quietly. "We did great work." He took my hand and I didn't pull away. That night at the after-party, Nicole pulled me aside. "You look happy." "I am." "Good. You deserve it. After everything with Derek." "Derek who?" I asked, smiling. She laughed. "Exactly. He's your past. This," she gestured to the party, to Andre across the room talking to investors, "to my thriving career and full life. This is your present and your future." She was right. I thought about who I'd been a year ago, broken, betrayed, unsure if I'd survive the destruction of my marriage. And I looked at who I was now, successful, confident, surrounded by people who valued me, building something real with someone who saw me clearly. Derek had taken so much from me. But he'd also freed me to become the person I was always meant to be. For that, I was almost grateful. The restitution hearing for Derek's victims was scheduled for late April. The court would determine how much Derek owed each person he'd defrauded and set up a payment plan, though everyone knew he'd never be able to pay back even a fraction of what he'd stolen. Nicole called me the morning of the hearing. "Mrs. Patterson's lawyer wants you to know she doesn't blame you for what Derek did." "Why would she blame me?" "Some people might think you should have known that you were complicit somehow. But she's been very clear that she knows you were a victim too." I hadn't thought of myself as a victim in months. I'd been too busy building my new life to dwell on the old one. But technically I supposed I was. Derek had stolen from me too. Time, trust, money, years of my life. "Will you go to the hearing?" Nicole asked. I thought about it. Part of me wanted closure, wanted to see Derek face the consequences one final time. But another part, the part that was healthy and moving forward, didn't want to waste another minute of my life in a room with him. No, I decided. I don't need to be there. He's not part of my life anymore. Nicole attended as my representative again. She texted me updates throughout the day. Judge ordered full restitution. $2.3 million total. Derek crying in court. Judge told him crying won't bring back the money. Mrs. Patterson gave a statement. Said she forgave him but justice still matters. Derek's assets being seized. House, cars, everything. Finally, it's done. He'll be paying this back for the rest of his life. I was in a meeting with a new client when the final text came through. I glanced at it, felt a brief moment of satisfaction, and then put my phone away and focused on the present moment. Derek's sentencing was over. His chapter of my life was completely closed. That evening, Andre took me to dinner to celebrate the anniversary of our first date. 1 year together, a year of slowly building trust, of learning to be vulnerable again, of discovering what a healthy relationship felt like. "I have something for you," he said after dinner, pulling out a small wrapped box. My heart jumped. "Andre, it's not what you think." "Well, maybe it is. Just open it." Inside was a key. "It's to my place," he explained. "I'm not asking you to move in yet. I know you're not ready. But I want you to know you're always welcome. That I'm thinking about a future with you. That whenever you're ready for that next step, I'll be here." I looked at the key, then at him. This man who'd been patient with my fears, who'd celebrated my successes, who'd held me when I cried about my broken past and never once made me feel weak for grieving. "I love you," I said. The words came easily, naturally. "I'm not ready to move in yet, but I love you." His smile lit up his whole face. "I love you too." We sat in the restaurant, holding hands across the table, and I marveled at how different this felt from my marriage to Derek. There was no pretense here, no performance. Just two people who genuinely liked and respected each other, building something real. A week later, I received one final communication from Derek's world. Vanessa's lawyer sent a letter requesting that I consider writing a letter of support for Vanessa's child support case against Derek. The letter explained that Vanessa was struggling financially, that the baby, a little girl named Emma, deserved support from her father, that any statement from me about Derek's assets or income would help their case. I read the letter twice, then called Nicole. "What should I do?" "Legally, you have no obligation to help her. Morally, that's your call." I thought about Emma, innocent in all of this. A baby who'd done nothing wrong but be born to parents who'd made terrible choices. I'll provide factual information about Derek's assets, I decided. Income records, the divorce settlement, what he's required to pay in restitution. Just facts, no commentary. That's all I'm willing to do. Nicole drafted the statement and I signed it. It wasn't helping Vanessa, exactly, it was just ensuring an innocent child had access to factual information about her father's financial situation. That felt right. A month later, Vanessa's lawyer sent a thank you note. The court had ordered Derek to pay child support of $800 monthly, to be deducted from his prison wages and future earnings. It wasn't much, but it was something. I filed the note away and didn't think about it again. My life was too full of good things to waste time on Derek's consequences. The business was thriving. I just hired my 10th employee and was looking at expanding to a second office in a neighboring city. Andre and I were talking seriously about moving in together. I'd started a mentorship program for young women in design, meeting monthly with students and recent graduates. Everything I'd built since the divorce was solid, real, based on my own merit and hard work. Unlike Derek's house of cards that had collapsed so spectacularly, my foundation was strong. One evening, working late at the office, I received an email from the federal prosecutor's office. They were compiling a final report on Derek's case and wanted to know if I had any statement I wanted included for the record. I thought about what to say. About betrayal and recovery, about justice and moving on, about the life I'd built from the ashes of my marriage. But in the end I kept it simple. Derek Anderson stole from me, my money, my trust, and years of my life. But I've recovered everything he took and more. I'm successful, happy, and surrounded by people who genuinely care about me. His crimes gave me the freedom to become the person I was always meant to be. Justice has been served and I'm finally at peace. I hit send and closed my laptop. That chapter was done. Time to write the next one. 2 years after discovering Derek's affair in French, I stood in the newly opened Simone Wells Design headquarters, watching staff and clients mingle at our launch party. The space was everything I'd dreamed, 3,000 square feet of bright, open workspace, a client showroom displaying our best projects, private offices for senior designers, and a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. We'd completed 22 major projects in the past year alone. My team had grown to 15 designers and 5 support staff. We'd been featured in 3 national design magazines. I'd been invited to speak at architecture conferences. The frightened, heartbroken woman who'd heard her husband's betrayal 2 years ago felt like a different person entirely. "This is incredible," Andre said, handing me a glass of champagne. "You should be proud. We should be proud. You've been part of this journey." He smiled. "True. But this is your dream, Simone. Your vision. I just helped with some structural consulting." He was being modest. Andre had been my rock through the hardest parts of building the business. Late nights when I doubted myself, difficult clients who tested my patience, competitive bids I was sure I'd lose. He'd believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. 6 months ago I'd moved into his house. 3 months ago he'd proposed. The ring on my finger was simple and beautiful, a sapphire surrounded by small diamonds, nothing like the ostentatious rock Derek had bought me. "I don't need to compete with your ex," Andre had said when I'd admired its understated elegance. "I just need to love you and be worthy of your love." He was. Tasha appeared with a tray of appetizers. "Boss, the mayor just arrived. And there's a reporter from Design Weekly who wants to interview you about the Riverside Mall project. Tell them I'll be there in 5 minutes." She nodded and disappeared into the crowd. I looked around the room, Nicole laughing with some of my designers, Andre's family admiring the project displays, clients I'd worked with over the past 2 years, all of them here to celebrate my success. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother in Montreal. "So proud of you, ma petite. Your father would be too." I smiled, feeling the warmth of her words. My parents had divorced when I was young, but they both taught me strength in their own ways. My mother's resilience after leaving my father. My father's quiet dignity in rebuilding his life. Both had shown me that endings could lead to better beginnings. "Simone." A woman approached hesitantly. "I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm Catherine Davis. My husband was one of Derek's clients." My stomach tightened. "Oh. I just wanted to thank you. The statement you provided about Derek's assets helped our restitution case. We'll probably never get back everything we lost, but at least we got something. And I wanted you to know, I never blamed you. You were a victim too." Her husband joined her, nodding in agreement. "You did the right thing protecting yourself. I'm glad to see you've built something great." They shook my hand and moved on, leaving me standing there feeling oddly emotional. I'd spent so long running from Derek's crimes, trying to separate myself from his legacy. But maybe I didn't need to run anymore. I'd faced it all, the betrayal, the financial ruin, the public scandal, and survived. More than survived. I'd thrived. You okay? Andre asked, appearing at my elbow. Yeah. Just thinking about how far I've come. We've come, he corrected gently. We're a team now. He was right. We were a team. Not like Derek and I had been, where one person controlled everything and the other person just trusted blindly. Andre and I were equal partners, in work, in life, in planning our future. Our wedding was scheduled for next spring. A small ceremony, just family and close friends. Nothing like the elaborate production Derek and I had staged, more concerned with appearances than actual meaning. This time I knew what I was doing. I knew who I was marrying. And I knew who I was. The party continued late into the evening. At midnight, after the last guest had left, I stood in the empty office with Andre, looking at what I'd built. Happy? He asked. Completely. And I meant it. I was happy, not the desperate, grasping happiness I'd felt with Derek, constantly trying to maintain a perfect image. But a deep, solid contentment that came from knowing I was exactly where I was meant to be. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from an unknown number. Congratulations on your success. You deserve it. Derek. Somehow he'd heard about the new office, about my success. Maybe one of his former colleagues had told him. Maybe he'd seen an article. I stared at the message for a moment, then deleted it without responding. He didn't deserve my attention, my acknowledgement, any space in my life at all. I was free of him completely, financially, legally, emotionally. His opinion didn't matter. His regret didn't matter. Nothing about him mattered anymore. Everything okay? Andre asked. Perfect, I said, taking his hand. Everything is absolutely perfect. We locked up the office and walked to our car, Andre's arm around my shoulders. The city lights glittered around us, full of possibility and promise. 2 years ago, I'd heard my husband's betrayal in a language he thought I didn't understand. He thought he was clever, thought he'd outsmarted me. Instead, he'd freed me. Freed me to build the business I'd always dreamed of. Freed me to find a partner who actually valued me. Freed me to become the woman I was always meant to be. Strong, independent, successful, happy. Derek was in prison, broke and disgraced, facing years of consequences for his crimes. I was engaged to a wonderful man, running a thriving business, living a life I'd built with my own hands and my own merit. In the end, his betrayal had been the best thing that ever happened to me. And I'd responded in perfect French.